Local soldiers who fought in Operation Iraqi Freedom are still paying off $19 million worth of credit card bills.
They shopped at stores run by the Department of Defense in Iraq, and just now they're getting the bills. It all centers around a division called the Army and Air Force Exchange Services, or AFES. They run more than 3,000 stores selling DVDs to toothpaste to the troops in war zones like Iraq and Afghanistan. Most of their profits go back to the soldiers in the form of recreation and morale boosters like swimming pools and workout centers. Running a retailer in Iraq presents some unique challenges.
Talking about delivering Red Bull at the end of a 10,000-mile pipeline that terminates in the middle of a combat zone. The complexity to be able to do that is just phenomenal.
Well, some local soldiers say they understand a war zone. After all, they've been in one. But they argue the bills they've just received shouldn't be blamed on the war. They should be blamed on bad bookkeeping. KIMT News Channel 3's Anthony Welch has the story.
Handshakes and cheers greet our soldiers with the 1133rd as they return to North Iowa after serving in Iraq. 2 years later, credit card bills welcome them home. Bills from purchases made at stores on base while serving.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked to get that letter, especially such a time frame after the fact.
More than a year and a half after Morgan came back with the 1133rd, she was billed $165 for stuff she bought at stores run by AFES in Iraq. Problem is, she already paid U.S. Bank for the purchases.
Being over in that operating environment, you know, it's kind of like a slap in the face.
She's not alone in getting the delayed bills, but admits she might be one of the few U.S. soldiers in combat who kept a close eye on her credit card while serving.
I'm thinking some very poor financial management on their part. Very, very bad bookkeeping principles.
Another 1133rd veteran, Trent Redding, came back here to the Mason City Armory. And a year and a half later, he got nearly a $700 bill. Problem is, he doesn't remember if he paid it or not. And he doesn't have the statements to prove it either way. So we asked him to come into our studios and give customer service a call. Here's what they had to say.
They put those in a box, and they were put into another box on a container.
Okay.
And they put it in a warehouse, and they forgot about it. So it's been sitting in this warehouse all this time.
That's not true. And I can't speak to that. That is not true. They weren't forgotten about because here they are. Literally.
In all, it's $19 million worth of receipts, affecting about 22,000 soldiers all across the country.
We're talking over 330,000 individual transactions that were done manually.
AFES says it just wasn't possible to get the bills out any sooner. With no technology in the middle of hostile Iraqi territory, they held on to the 300,000 paper receipts, waiting for a chance to ship them home.
In a war environment, they're prioritizing bullets and care items that are mission essential to those troops that are fighting the battle.
AFES says when the receipts finally got back to the States, the banks or credit card companies rejected them. So AFES turned to billing the soldiers directly. Yet many soldiers like Redding don't understand some of the other circumstances.
Okay. We're not sure exactly what happened.
He was sent a letter threatening to garnish his wages if he didn't pay in 30 days. But on the phone, he wasn't able to get an explanation of what happened.
Well, I don't think we've ever sent a letter that I would consider threatening.
Other soldiers say it's not fair the responsibility shifted to the buyer.
That burden of proof they've passed on to the soldiers, but I think because their bookkeeping practices are so bad, it should be falling back on them.
I'm somewhat apologetic. I'm sorry that it took this long to do this, but it's a very complicated situation when you try to transact credit card business in a war zone.
The credit card situation is changing the way AFES does business.
There's lessons learned that we come back, we're able to get together with the key decision makers and come up with solutions that will better support those type of emergency needs and deployments in the future.
They came up with what they call a store in a box. Basically, it's a $60,000 satellite uplink store, instantly sending credit card transactions back here to AFES headquarters in Dallas, Texas. Hopes this won't happen again. But today, the division says they've got no regrets, and they did their mission by following the soldiers into theirs.
If we had to, we'd do it again. Because, I mean, our mission is we go where you go. And that doesn't mean we go where you go cash only.
But 2 years after serving, there are at least a handful of local soldiers who wish they'd paid strictly cash. Not all the soldiers we talked to had billing issues. In fact, most didn't. Of those who received late bills, many said they hadn't paid up and did in fact owe AFES the money. AFES says with the other soldiers, they're trying to work out payment plans and be flexible to avoid consequences like wage garnishment. Pete?
Okay, thanks a lot, Anthony. Now, Visa isn't talking about their role in all of this. The company told AFES the bills were stale transactions, so they rejected the charges.
Now they won't return KIMT News Channel 3's phone calls. According to the Iowa Attorney General's office, everything involved with this seems legal, but they encourage the soldiers to check their bank records.